Hey everybody, welcome back to TechOdyssey. So today I'm here to talk about the POCO 3 again. Very interesting device. So it just came out a couple of days ago, announced on the 24th of November, went on sale on the 27th, had some early bird special stuff so you could get a little bit cheaper, but you know, 149, 169 bucks for 64 gigs or 128 gigabytes of storage. It's a very particular phone that I think is suited for certain segments of people. It's not something that somebody who wants a flagship phone is going to go out and buy because, you know, those cost $800,000, $900,000, and, you know, it's not even really for the United States market. I mean, you can hardly even get one. So who is this phone for, and, you know, what kind of things can it do that would make somebody want to go out and buy this $150 phone effectively? And we're going to talk about in this video. But before we get into that, I do want to say if this is your first time stopping by the channel, I appreciate you being here. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. Now, let's talk about the M3. So I reviewed a lot of budget phones in my time. I've spent a lot of time reviewing blue phones. I've reviewed some new mobile phones and kind of a scattered experience. There's a lot of different phones around the $100, $200, $300 price point. This one is very interesting because, you know, POCO was part of Xiaomi before. Even whenever I got another phone previously this year, it was like the Xiaomi POCO phone. So POCO has quite a few devices, and they made a big splash with the POCO phone a couple of years ago, Snapdragon 845. It was really inexpensive compared to a lot of the flagship phones and made a lot of people think, hey, why should I spend $1,000 on a phone when I can go get this really good phone for like 400 bucks, you know? So when they come out with this new one, POCO is now their own brand now. So it's just POCO. It's not Xiaomi POCO anymore. And I think that's cool. And it kind of goes to show that, yeah, the brand has done a pretty good job. They're good at putting like what you need in a phone, but not necessarily all the extra stuff and charging you money for it. So there's no official like waterproof or water resistance rating on here. It's not IP67. It's not IP68. It doesn't have a flagship processor. It doesn't have an AMOLED screen. It doesn't have amazing cameras in it, but it's only like 150 bucks. And I think if you look at that price point and you look at what is in here, I think that it fits a lot of different places for quite a few people. It's good for college students. It's good for teenagers. It's good for kids. It's good for people who just want to buy a phone that works. Yeah, not everybody wants to go down to the store and go spend $1,000 or even $500 on a phone, especially in 2020. And I think maybe that's kind of why this phone exists, because if you look at the market, of course it's saturated. It's full of all these phones, but you have this emerging brand POCO that's fairly well known in the community for bringing value and performance. So you get a Snapdragon 662, which is a very formidable chip. Now, if you're inside the United States, this may not be the best phone to have imported just because it doesn't have all the really good LTE bands that we have here. You know, there are LTE bands all over the world. This one's more geared towards Europe, Asia, and that market, and the bands for the phone signal work a lot better over there. It doesn't have 5G, but you don't need that. It doesn't have wireless charging, but I don't think that you need that either. I mean, it does have a 22.5 watt charging brick that comes with it, which I think is pretty exceptional. I mean, if you look at like the new iPhones, they don't even come with the charging brick anymore. It comes with a case and a screen protector straight out of the box. I think that that's pretty remarkable too, because yes, this is a newer phone. It's kind of on the cheap side. You're not going to find a lot of aftermarket accessories for this. So it's already ready to go straight out of the box. It has a 6,000 milliamp battery. That right there tells me that this phone is designed to get people through the day without having to worry about charging. It does have USB-C, so you can recharge it. It shouldn't take too terribly long, but you have to remember that it is 6,000 milliamps. So it's probably going to take a couple of hours to fill that all the way back up. It's not like a 3,000 or a 4,000. That's going to take you about an hour and a half anyway. So 48 megapixel camera. If you watched my other video on it, it's not the greatest. If you're outside and the lighting is good, yes, you can get some good pictures, at least good enough that you can be like, hey, let me post this on social media. If there's a lot of white light, if there's a lot of brightness in the lens, if you're indoors, it doesn't take the best pictures. And you can watch that video here, and I talk more about that in depth. But this is not designed to be winning any awards when it comes to like taking National Geographic photos. I mean, they do put the 2 megapixel macro lens in there. You can take some of those really up close shots with like the dewdrops and the bugs and things like that. And 2 megapixels is okay. It's going to look probably fine on this screen. So the screen is 6.53 inches. It's 1080p, which I think is fine. Good balance between resolution and power. And of course it has the all-day battery, the almost 2-day battery if you really baby this thing. I mean, if you're not sitting there watching YouTube for 10 hours straight, but you kind of can probably do that. I mean, I haven't tried to watch it for 10 hours straight, but just the fact that this has a fairly power efficient processor, the Snapdragon 662, 6,000 milliamp battery, and the screen is not the brightest in the world, so you could probably sit there and watch something for 8 hours straight on this. I mean, I would guess it might be possible. And that's one of the other things. So we've talked about, okay, we've got enough power, we've got enough RAM, that's not really in the question. MIUI is a little laggy, and I've got to where I kind of like MIUI. Now, I never really cared for it before, but since I've used the Xiaomi Mi 10T Pro 5G, it has the power to run it. The problem is MIUI is kind of resource intensive. It needs memory, it needs power. If you feed it all of those things, it's actually pretty pleasant. On a budget phone, it just kind of slows it down a little bit, and it does look nice, and it does work fine, but it makes for laggy things like the fingerprint sensor taking, that was almost 2 seconds for that to pop up whenever you haven't been using the phone when it's in standby. So, it's a little on the slow side there. Does it work? Sure. It even has facial recognition. You can do that. So you've got an all-day phone with really good battery life, and you've got a solid screen, and you've got good speakers. The speakers on here are remarkably good, especially for the price point, and it has stereo speakers. Now, the speakers on here are surprisingly good, and I don't really know of any other phone that I've tested out in the $150, $200 price range that even has stereo speakers. So the fact that it has that is good. Here, I'll turn on some copyright-free music. You can hear it real quick. Gotta wait for the advertisement here. Skip survey. The speakers are actually remarkable. You've got the speaker up top, the speaker down bottom. And you should be able to hear this pretty good. It's picking up on my microphone. So, yeah, that's just, I think that the way that this phone is designed, it's designed to give somebody a good media experience. It's good for streaming, it's good for binging videos and TV shows, Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, all of that good stuff. Plus you can do gaming. I made a whole video on this phone about how good the gameplay is. You can play PUBG just fine. You can play Call of Duty Mobile just fine. You can play World of Warships. There's a lot of different stuff that you can play on here because of the Snapdragon 662. You've got great battery life, you've got solid speakers. So if you're not looking for a phone that's gonna break the bank, or you don't want to spend a ton of money, and you just want to spend like 150 bucks, 160, 70 bucks to get something that will last you all day, that will allow you to sit there and watch videos to your heart's content and allow you to browse the internet, do some shopping. Yes, there is some laggy stuff that comes in here and there, and that's just mostly because of the MIUI, like the slow response on the fingerprint sensor, or the fact that the camera is just not the most amazing in the world if you don't have good lighting, but you should be able to supplement that with Gcam if you want to go ahead and get that. I haven't tested that out yet. I believe the Snapdragon 662 will work with that, so I'm going to make another video about that later after I install that, and that should give you an increase in performance on the camera, but I review things at baseline value, how it is presented stock. You can put expandable storage in here. It's GSM unlocked, 6.53 inch LCD display. A lot of the things and the specs on paper and the numbers sound good. Is it a high-speed, super throttled, fast phone? No, it's really not, but it's 150 bucks, people. And that's the thing that you want to take away from this. You're not having to spend a ton of money. It's got Android 10, it's got swipe gestures, it's got everything that you need to do the basics. Phone calls are fine, and the sound is actually, I think, really good, especially for the price point. So people who just want a cheap phone, this is a good one. If you want a phone for your kids that they can play some games on that'll last them a long time, then you don't have to worry about it dying on them and then them wanting to play with your phone, solid option. If you're a college student on a budget, if you're just on a budget period and you're not one of those people that wants a high frills expensive phone, POCO M3 is a phone I think that's for you. And I don't think that it's bad. I think in a lot of ways that it does a decent job. There's just a couple of hang-ups, but of course at 150 bucks, there's only so much that you can do. I mean, really. And I think this one does a good job at 150 bucks. Again, like I said, the camera, not the greatest in the world. Watch the other video, you can see the pictures that I took on that. It's just, it is what it is. 48 megapixel sensor just doesn't pan out that well. But where it does shine, gaming, multimedia, all day battery life, Android 10, and the speakers are just, I think really good for the price point. And $150, $169, $149, whichever way you want to look at it, I think is a decent and fair price for this phone. So that's what I've got. If you have any questions or comments about the POCO M3 or the experience with the phone or any of the stuff that it does, then please feel free to sound off in the comments section and I'll get back with you. If you enjoyed the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.